Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be forging a spoon bit. These are highly prized by green woodworkers and chair makers in particular because they drill a round bottomed hole, and that just happens to fit very nicely inside of a turned chair leg. So you can drill a hole right to the edge of the leg and not break through in any area because the bottom of the spoon bit conforms to the shape of the leg. And for the first time ever, I'm not just going to be making stuff up as I go along and in the hopes that it turns out. I got all the information that I needed to build this from this book. It's the Fine Woodworking On series, and this one is on hand tools. This is the 1986 edition, so that's how long it's taken me to get to this project. And on page 32, there is an excellent article by David Sawyer on using and sharpening spoon bits. So I knew exactly where I was headed, and I just figured out the process to get me there. And here's all the information you need to find this particular edition. I don't know if they update these or change them over the years, but this is the edition that I'm working from, and the article that I'm talking about is on page 32. And if you've been following this series, you'll recognize this piece of steel. It's the same 3/8 round spring steel that I started with the other drill bits. The first thing that I need to do is to flatten out the section that will eventually be turned into the spoon bit. Even though this is a pretty simple shape, take your time and don't try to get too much work done in any one heat. This is still a higher carbon steel, and you don't want to put any stress into the metal that will result in a crack or something failing on you later on. Carbon steels don't like to move around all that much, so you kind of have to nudge them along into a new shape. If you take that attitude with all of the carbon steels that you hammer, you'll eliminate 90% of the problems that most people have during heat treating. The next step is to take the main part of the spoon bit and turn it into a curved section. This curved section, of course, needs to roughly conform to the diameter of the hole that you're trying to drill. The swage block, of course, is the perfect tool for this, but if you don't have one, there are other alternatives that will allow you to get the job done. You can hammer this shape into the inside edge of a heavy piece of angle iron, or some people use the step of the anvil between the face and the horn to get this shape started. You can also clamp or weld two round bars next to each other. That'll give you a fairly good simulated swage. You basically just need to find something that'll support the outside edges of the bar while you're hammering in the center. Once you get this roughly bent into a curve, you can move over to the anvil and complete the profiling there. It's fairly difficult to get a flat section into a curve by simply hammering on the anvil, but once it has some kind of a curved shape, you can actually change that curve quite a bit on a flat surface like an anvil just by hammering in different sections. When you're shaping the curve, just make sure that you work very slowly and very methodically, because any hammer marks that are left behind are going to need to be removed somehow later on. That's tough enough for a straight gouge, but in a spoon bit, that really compounds the problem. Now that I have the gouge shaped the way I want, I just need to turn the end into a spoon. The tool I'm hammering on just happens to be a sheet metal worker's stake anvil, but anything with a domed shape will work. I could have clamped a ball peen hammer in the vise or simply ground a round bar to a nice rounded end. You just need something to support the inside of the gouge while you're turning the edge around the corner. Here I'm a little further along. I flattened it out, did a little bit of grinding to turn it into more of the spoon shape that I'm after. And here I'm using the stake anvil to help me forge out the inside radius of that spoon bit right at the very tip. I want a really nice, large, smooth radius there, because that's going to be the main cutting edge. And here I'm done all the forging. I'm just going over everything to make sure that everything's straight and lines up the way that I want. Now, in the fine woodworking article, David said that he sharpened the inside of the spoon bit by using a triangular file that was sharpened into a scraper. And from the picture that was shown, it looked like he was just kind of whittling at the inside edge, which I thought was kind of interesting. But my experiments showed that if you put the cutting edge at kind of a negative rake, that is where it's leaning into the cut, you can actually start scraping and pulling off very fine shavings, and it actually works very well. And you can see as I get in closer here, what seems to be dust at the tip of the spoon are actual shavings that I'm cutting away from the side of the spoon bit. Now, this is a pretty tough way to get rid of forging scale and hammer marks, but once you got the inside surface clean, it would do a very nice job of just honing that edge back up to sharp. Of course, you can also use a Dremel tool with a grinding bit, or a slipstone or something that you have conform to this shape. But as a basic cutting tool that you can make and maintain yourself, this works amazingly well. So here I've completed shaping the inside of the spoon bit. I know it still looks pretty rough, but the cutting edge is one smooth continuous line, and that's the only part that matters on this whole piece. The right hand side that you see is the cutting edge, and it's the only part that does the cutting. Everything else I left rough because it doesn't matter. It's not doing anything. Now the last thing that I need to do is to grind the outside profile away until it meets up with the inside cutting edge that I just shaped. Once I reveal that cutting edge, I can do a little bit of final honing and it's ready to go. And here you can see how grinding that outside profile created the cutting edge that I need. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier when I was doing the demo was that the top edge of the spoon bit needs to fall on the center line of the shaft of the drill. That allows it to pivot around the tip of the spoon and create the round hole. One of the things that David mentioned in the article that I found interesting was that as spoon bits get sharpened, they gradually turn into straight gouges with a fingernail grind to them. And interestingly, they cut about the same. The performance really isn't altered that much by the change in shape. So these really do have a long life before you really do need to reshape them back into a spoon bit. Hi, I'm Dennis, and thanks for watching. If you're interested in supporting this channel, the simplest way, of course, is to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have questions and you want to contact me directly, you can do so by emailing me at either one of the addresses that I have listed here. It may take me a couple of days, but I will get back to you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.